it's a game? You think it's a game? Y'all gon' make me lose my mind. Hey, yo, what's my name? Y'all gon' make me go all out. DMX. Y'all gon' make me act a fool. Hey, yo, what's my name?
What you
Y'all gon' make me lose my cool.
I tried so hard,
What you really want? What you really want?
but it doesn't even matter. I tried so hard,
What you really want?
it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. I tried.
Give me a sign. Dog, I meet bitches, the street bitches, slash, Cocoa Puff, sweet bitches, think you wanna eat bitches, but not me.
I tried so
I fuck with these hoes from a distance. The instant they start to catch feelings, I start to. What is it you want from a nigga? I gave you, you gave me. I played you, you played me.
and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fight to lose it all, but in the end.
Welcome everybody once again to another live edition of the Showcase Pod. I am Don Vega and I'm joined by the boss, Chris Blackheart.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure, huh? The pleasure's all yours and mine.
Well, tonight it actually is.
Oh, okay, all right. So let's get right to it. You know, our guest this evening on the Showcase Pod is Ivy de la Rosa. Ivy, bienvenida al show. See, this is going to be the bilingual version.
Oh, that's
Oh,
what
I love
find.
bilingual Spanglish. I'm fluent in Spanglish. You know how it is.
If you
There
can
you go.
help me get my Spanish
And
better,
correction on my name, my friend. I'm gonna help all of those unilinguals to pronounce my last name. It should be Ivy de la Rosa. You have to roll the R's for me,
Oh, I
everybody.
I like it. I
See,
like it.
that she's talking to you, Blackheart.
That's all right. I think that's a T-shirt right there.
Yep.
And he needs a better mic too.
Yep.
Spend some money production on him because I can barely hear you.
That's all right. That's not on me today.
Oh, okay. You're happy that it's
Oh
not.
yeah, I'm finally. It's like, oh yeah, equipment sucks, and people throw it on the ground. They throw it all over the ring. Julio.
He's happy they're not blaming him tonight.
Yes.
But anyways,
He's whining. He's whining.
Yep. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. I'm gonna get right to it.
Perfect.
How does Evie get started in pro wrestling? How do you first found pro wrestling? How do you start watching and falling in love with wrestling?
And you're taking me back to how much? 20 years ago? 20-something years ago. Little girl in Puerto Rico watching every Saturdays and Sundays. The main companies of wrestling in Puerto Rico, it was IWA and WWC, or Capital, how we call it down there. So classic weekends, you just sit on the floor on the couch watching wrestling. I watched some of the wrestlers back then, women wrestler called La Tigresa and April Hunter. And I watched them on TV, and I said to myself, I'm pretty sure that I can do what they're doing better. So I picked up my flip phone back then, my Nokia flip phone, called one of the wrestling schools, and once I was old enough to join a wrestling school, I joined the wrestling school. And actually my first trainer was Ricky Banderas, El Mesías, or Mil Muertes, how some people know him as. He was my first trainer, my first teacher in wrestling. And then I continued training for many years in Puerto Rico and then moved to the US, which is where I mostly wrestle right now.
Okay, so if we could talk about a little bit of the experience training with Ricky, you know, we know he's got a hardcore style, hard-hitting style. What was that like?
It was hell. It was hell, Vega. I'm telling you, the first, I think, 2 weeks, it was just, whenever you enter wrestling school, they teach you how to break the fall. So the first, I think, 2 weeks, it was just breaking the fall, learning how to break the fall. It was it was bad to an extent that sometimes when I was riding, it was like a 2-hour drive from my house to the school. Sometimes I had one hand in my steering wheel and the other one holding my neck because I couldn't hold my head with my neck. It was insane. The guy, I mean, you've seen him if you know him. If not, Google it, people. It's easy. He's very hardcore, tough as nails. So his training style was the same. Another funny, not funny. Now I see it as funny, but anecdote is he had a throw-up bucket. So he had this bucket with a laminate in Spanish saying for when you throw up. So it was like a thing. Let's see who fills the bucket today. That's how hardcore the training sessions with him were. But I think that's what obviously helped me be tough as I am right now on my wrestling style. So you learn a little bit from every teacher that you have along the way. And he was the first, and I appreciated everything that he taught me and everyone that was in the school with me right now. Yeah.
When you started training, was it a mixed class? Were you the only female in there?
Yeah, it was mixed. They don't believe in, there's no different teachings for male or women. You're a wrestler and that's it. It doesn't matter what you are. So no, it was only, I think it was 12, 10 were guys. And then it was me, and then it was another girl back then. She didn't make it. I think she gave up. She gave up like the first week. She was like, forget this, not for me. I might just want to come out in bra and panties and, do that other entertaining piece of wrestling. Yeah, but that's not me. That's never been me. So
the year in that was that 2002, 2003?
you got it. Yeah, 2001, 2002. Yeah, because
Which is ironic because from having different guests on, depending on when they trained, some things don't change. When it comes down to wanting to do it, everybody wants to do it until they actually do it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're gonna get into this a little bit further with women wrestling, and some women get in there for the right reasons, some get for the wrong reasons.
Some get trapped.
I mean, is there reasons whether they're right or wrong? I mean, we can debate on that. But if a woman joins the wrestling business for the wrestling part of the business,
that's what it should
then
be.
they have to understand this is not an easy business. You can get hurt. You can hurt people. You need to be physically, mentally prepared for it, and that's fine. If you go thinking that, of course I can do this, and then when you train, you realize, that's not for me, then leave. It's fine, but at least you tried it, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what's important.
Well, I think when people do that, I think hopefully they get respect for it, and they go back being the fan of loving the sport. Wrestling is not made for everybody, but if you have a dream, go after it, and don't quit after a week, 7 days. You're not a wrestler.
Overnight, it's not gonna happen.
And I tell people if you never thought of quitting, you're not doing it right. Because a lot of times you quit every day after practice, especially when you first starting, and then it gets a little bit easier to a degree from where you are at that level until you get to the next level.
Well, going back to
because it's easy, and sorry to interrupt you. So it's easy to quit, right? I could have done that myself the first 2 weeks, but if you really want it, you're like, okay, this too shall pass, right? I'm gonna get through this, and I can't wait to see what he's gonna teach me next. Am I gonna learn to run the ropes? Or am I gonna learn psychology? So you stick around because you really genuinely want to improve, and you really have a passion and a love for the business. That's what makes you stick around and keep learning every day.
Definitely gotta want it. Definitely have to have the consistency, and that's what's lacking in a lot of ways in the business now. Ivy, what was your first match, if you recall?
Yeah, I do. It was my tryout match. Actually, I don't know if you guys know the guy, but he's called El Profe in Puerto Rico. He's a legend in Puerto Rico.
Yep, I know.
He was, you know him, right? Yeah. So he was my second teacher after I trained for like a year with Ricky. I changed schools because I wanted to learn a different style, more Mexican style. So El Profe was great for it. And he got me my first tryout, and it was actually with IWA. It was a tag team. There were no other women. So it was me and another guy against two, I don't know, got military gimmick guys. And we did the tryout. We won the match. And after the tryout, Sabio Vega was in the back. Miguelito was in the back, and some other producers of the show. And they told me, yes, you're hired. We'll see you next Saturday or wherever. So that was my first official match was my tryout match for IWA. So now, many moons ago.
Many moons ago. Now you join IWA. At the time, it's still one of the top promotions in the island of Puerto Rico. What was that experience like?
And it was great. It was great. I left IWA when I moved to the US. And I've said it before in other podcasts that I left because I didn't have any competition left in the island. And I wanted to improve my skills. So I moved to the US. And then after I left, of course, everyone and their mother decided to join wrestling. So there's a bit more women, good competition, great wrestlers in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
They have the IWA championship. And I started watching them again. And I was like, if anyone should be carrying that championship around, it's me. So I'm going to buy this plane ticket. I'm going to go back to Puerto Rico and I'm going to reclaim what's rightfully mine. And that's what I did try to do. I was cheated out of it, but that's what I went to the Iceland for and what I'm going to keep trying to do until I do it. So it's not a tour because I'm planning to go back every single week if I have to.
Okay. So now before we get into that, we'll get into that some more. You mentioned that you left IWA, you left Puerto Rico to come to the United States. What was some of the first promotions that you worked for when you came to the United States?
That's where I met you.
Yes.
Dobega.
Yes.
That was NECW. NECW, right? Yeah. Yes. NECW had a women's division, I think you might call it that. So that's where I first. So let me backtrack. So when I came to the US, I started in another school with Antonio Tomas and Kevin Laundry, and then they talked to me about companies over here that were working at that stage. At least Tomas was working with NECW, and he told me, and my husband Ryan Bisbal at that point, hey, why don't you show up at NECW? There's another women there to have some good matches with, and that's exactly what I did. So I went there and I started working with them. So it was NECW was the first company, and then there were many other many other companies, some that still exist, some that are no longer doing shows, but NECW was it.
Did you notice right away any big differences between working in Puerto Rico and now here in the States?
Did I? Yes, man. I believe you've worked in Puerto Rico before,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The locker room, it's completely different. The camaraderie, I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about the U.S. locker rooms. They're good people.
It is what it is.
Over there. Yeah. But in Puerto Rico, it's completely different to a point that, sometimes you finish your match and you're like, I want to get out of here. In Puerto Rico, it's like, I want to get there early, chit chat with the guys or the girls. I'm going to see until the last match. I leave until the ring is, in the truck. It's different. I mean, they're passionate over there. It's just.
Yes,
I enjoy both, but it's a whole different, and it has to do, I think, also with the language too. I mean, I'm bilingual, but talking about the matches, even the structure of the match when you talk about it in Spanish it's completely different when you're back there. So.
So it was definitely a little bit shocking, to say the least.
Yes.
Here, do you recall back on your very first match here in the States?
Holy cow. Yeah, I think it was another tag match. I'm not sure if it was me and maybe Mercedes KB. We know her as Sasha Banks now. I think it was me and her against Portuguese Princess Ariel.
Yes.
And I forgot her name. She's in Impact Wrestling now. But I believe it was a tag match. It was either that or me tagging with Ryan Bisbal against some other, whomever, local guys. Now you got me there, like 10 years ago.
Blackheart?
What's the year that was that? 09 maybe?
Yes, because I moved in 2008 here, so that was probably 2009, something like that, 9 or 10.
So you moved here, what, 09, say 10?
08.
08.
I moved.
And then you found a husband that quick?
No, she already
No,
had
I brought it with me. What are you talking about? But yeah, I could find a husband real quick. What are you?
No. No, okay. Oh,
Won't take me long.
No, because I wasn't going to bring it up, but on your husband, did you find him in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, funny story. So wrestling brings wrestling families together and couples together, right? We see that happening every time. So my husband, I met him in IWA, in a storyline within IWA, that he was in love with me, something like some drama like that, and I ended up betraying him. So that's how we met, and that's, we kept on with that storyline until today. So we've been together for quite a long time.
Luis, ¿qué pasó?
20
He
something
don't
years.
hear me, but I know he's there somewhere. Might have
Yeah, he's downstairs.
So, anyways, going into the relationship part and meeting people in the wrestling business is tough because, you could be booked in a show by yourself. There's other people that might come up to you. How tough is it to keep a straightforward relationship while being in a professional wrestling business?
Well, it can be tricky. Yeah, it can be tricky because if you're meeting the person right in the show, there might be, how do you say, if you're meeting the person in the locker rooms, there might be interest from some other parties, whether you and some other people, some other people on you, or whatever the case might be. But I think it's like with anything, if you really have an interest or an attraction to someone, it doesn't matter who else comes in the way. It doesn't matter if it turns out that you no longer work for the company and that person works for the company. If you love them and respect them, and the respect is mutual, it doesn't matter if if your paths in the wrestling world go different ways. The passion for the wrestling business will still keep you together, and that's what happened with us. I left for the U.S. before he left. He was still working in IWA, and I started, over here. Then we came over, and I wrestled for some companies. He didn't, vice versa. So it doesn't really matter if the trust is there. It's like anything. It's like anything. Yeah.
Good. Any other questions, Blackheart? You've been on a roll today with time.
Well, no, I don't want to jump. I don't want to jump ahead. But if you're actively wrestling, your husband isn't. How's that balance?
I'm actually wrestling, and I didn't hear the part about my husband.
That you're actively wrestling again, but your husband isn't. How?
No, my husband is not.
Yeah.
Oh, he's perfect. He goes with me. It's perfect. He goes with me to most of the shows, and we talk about the match when we are driving there. We talk about the match when we drive back. We have a ring in our backyard. So yesterday we were practicing. So he's very freaking amazingly knowledgeable. He's like an encyclopedia of wrestling. So he has helped me train. He has, giving his feedback and then teach me a lot. So it's, even though he's not actively in wrestling, he is actively on the wrestling world. He has his own, streaming content creation. He talks about IWA and WWC shows in Puerto Rico. He's up to date with what's happening in the wrestling world. It's great to have someone that loves this as much as you do, so you can, work together and come up with ideas for the upcoming shows. So it's great.
I mean, I give you guys credit as a couple because a lot of times, well, majority of the time, wrestling is not good for relationships, or it puts strains on it because either running shows or training, one half of the relationship is in as being probably a work and the other half isn't. So the fact that you guys both wrestle and you both love it, I mean, that's awesome.
A bond. Yeah,
it is. I mean, and
that's what brought us together, and I think that's what's.
Well, no, because a lot of times wrestling again brings people apart, but you guys have a common interest, and seeing him at shows, he's watching, he's pulling apart. I mean, that's having a personal coach, and I know he doesn't sugarcoat some stuff when he's telling you, but I don't think you would have it any other way.
No, he doesn't sugarcoat anything at all. And you need that, like I always say, you need that criticism, honest criticism. If anyone wants you to improve, they're going to be honest with you. They're not going to tell you that was the shits, but they'll find a way to tell you, you should have done this. Or,
even with that, I'm always fine people tell you the shits, but tell you why. Give me your information why you thought I was the shits tonight. So at least I can pull something apart of it and get better.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
So
agreed.
When you guys are driving home, Brian, next time, can you just look over when they're on 95, say, Evie, you have the shits.
That has happened. We know each other too well. That has happened. I'm like, oh, I know it was the shit. So fuck.
I'm like waiting for the time. Every time I see him at shows, I'm like, when you coming back? Because he's so.
Yes.
I see him in the background and he's pumped up
Yeah.
like he's getting ready to go out. But it's just trying to help her out and trying to help out in general.
Support.
Last
Support.
time I saw him, he was giving advice to some of the guys. So that's always good.
He
to
loves
see.
it, man.
Yeah.
He loves it when he sees these young kids, listening and willing to listen and willing to, gain, hear some feedback and some ideas. That's what it's all about, right? We love the business, not just for us to look good. We want everyone
you
to
want
look
to
good.
pass it on to people that want it passed on to them. Speaking of that, you've been in the business for a long time now. Have you had any instances that you've tried to pass knowledge along the way, maybe to opponents or other people that haven't really taken your advice or been insulted by it?
Yes, both, all of the above. Multiply it by 2. I think it's normal, right? It happened to me when I first came to the U.S. I mean, I'm completely new here. It doesn't matter that I wrestled over there before. Nobody knew who the hell I was. So you bring your ideas that you have, your experience that you have over there, but obviously, like, who is she? What's she talking about? Shut up.
Yeah.
We're going to do this other thing. So, yeah, of course, I encountered that. I encountered, even during the match, telling someone, slow down or let's do this, and they don't, or pretend they don't hear you or don't listen to you at all. But I think as the years went by and women wrestlers started recognizing me and, seeing me on the shows and whatnot, they kind of got the memo, like, okay, she's doing it with the good intentions in mind, to help us look both of us look good. But yeah, man, I have people that got stiff, and I had to get stiff right back, and potatoes and all of it. I think it's part of the business at this stage.
It's definitely part of the game. When tough gets going, you just gotta go and get tough right back.
You nail it, and then they'll get the memo.
Yep. So what are mostly, like we talked about in the beginning? You said there were less women in Puerto Rico, and that's what made you come to the States. But you also wrestle against men. Is there any difference between wrestling female wrestlers and men?
I have to say yes. And I'll explain myself. It's more related to the strength difference, right? When you wrestle with guys, you know that they're capable of, in the wrestling business, we call them post for you, or give you a good base or whatnot. Yeah. So you have that sense of trust when you're wrestling with a guy. Not that you don't have with women, but you know that they're stronger. Maybe you are willing to do something with a guy that you might not necessarily be willing to do with a 125-pound opponent. Yeah, so in that aspect, yes, it's different. And I think one of the best compliments that a woman can have is when someone says she wrestles like a guy, right? Pelea como un hombre. That means that it looks real when you're connecting on your punches. Your intensity it's like, I want to kill the other person, because that's what it's all about, right? It's a match and you want to win and you want to look competitive. So I think it gives you that upper hand when you practice and when you wrestle with guys that are stronger than you, that force you to bring up the best in you, to try to get closer to a level. Because to be realistic, if you have a fight with a guy, you're going to be knocked out, right? So you have to bring up the best in you to try to look realistic to an extent on a wrestling match with a guy. So I think that's a difference, the strength that they evidently have compared to a woman. Yeah.
Okay. Chris?
What about, and I'm going to say it, and don't take it as an insult. A lot of times I do not like women wrestling, and it's not because of the particular women, but especially on the indies, a lot of women, they're rushed. They're rushed in the ring. Promoters or trainers put them in situations that they shouldn't be early, and it looks like the shits. Now, on the flip side of it, here comes a compliment. SummerSlam, when it was Charlotte and Asuka a couple years ago, that was the best match on the card because of the wrestling. It wasn't the best women's match. It was the best card because of
Wrestling, just the wrestling match in general.
So a lot of times I don't like women wrestling because the women aren't, they're just not good. And
Right.
in your case, I think it hurts you because you're in a ring with someone who got rushed early or does not put the effort in that you put in.
Right.
How does that make you feel that either A, they got rushed in early because a trainer promoter said, hey, I have a girl who's been training 3 months and she's only in there because she was a girl.
Yeah, and she got looks. When
Yeah.
you're trying to say she looks a certain way.
Where if she was a guy, she would not be in that ring.
Of course,
You
yeah,
know,
man.
and-
It's to this day and age, it frustrates me to an extent I don't think I can explain. Because it just damages the whole
Yes.
reputation that some of the women like me have been trying to build every time we step into the ring, right? Whenever you see these women that, and I blame the promoters and I blame them also, you know, because the promoter knows why they're putting them on the ring. Maybe they're eye candy or whatever,
Yeah.
and that's fine, you know. If that brings you, you know, people, that's perfectly fine. But find a spot for them in the card. Don't have them ruin lucha libre, right? So that's completely frustrating. I blame the wrestler also because they're doing it out of ego, right? Egotistical. They think they're ready, and maybe they've never had that teacher to tell them, no, mamita, you are not ready. You might be ready to be a manager for someone, but you're not ready to have an actual match. So I blame the promoters. I blame the women that do this. It's very frustrating. I don't even know what else to say. I mean, even the other day I was watching matches on one of these big companies, and it was bad women's matches. And I'm like, how could this happen at this level? You know, why is this still a problem where we have this crappy matches with women that are being sold as, you know, leaders of a company and whatnot? So, I mean, I try my best to be blinded to the gender of whomever's in the ring. I just want to see the wrestling, right? Whether it's two guys or two women, or women and guy, whatever. I just want to see them wrestle. And if it's a good match, it's a good match. I don't care if it's a man or a woman a man, both, whatever. You know what I mean? I just want to see them wrestle and have a good quality match.
Yeah, that is. It's funny you mentioned not funny because it's actually concerning. But I watched a lot of wrestling during the pandemic of certain companies that are, you know, on that level right now, and I've seen a lot of independent guys that were brought in to do, you know, enhancement matches, whether they were females or males, and it was complete horrible. I seen some girls not being able to whip somebody off. I even saw a referee count at the person's feet. I mean, just that.
Seen that?
Yeah, like. You know,
Oh Lord!
And
I saw someone like she was running the ropes and she turned and she took some steps backwards. I was like, what is this? If you can even run the ropes, just get down. Just don't. Just, you know, what are you doing?
and these big companies were putting that on television.
Yeah.
They still do it sometimes.
Well, see,
Yep.
even though it looks bad, but I always look at safety. I mean, when we train people, girl, guys, doesn't matter. Safety's first. To me, they're not safe to be in that ring because if you can't hit
Right.
the ropes, I'm sure they can't go
Right.
through the ropes.
yeah,
And how many times have they knocked themselves out on a bump?
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There are ways. I mean, if you would definitely, absolutely, for some whatever reason, one X person that's not ready in the ring, there are ways for you to portray them without messing the business. You know, have a 2-minute something. Just know what is it that they can do. If it's a schoolboy, fine. Duck the line, give me a schoolboy finish. Something simple. But when they start, you duck, I do the roll, you jump. But it just messes everything up. They make things so complicated when wrestling should be so simple.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, Evie. So seeing how wrestling has evolved, sometimes not for the best, Puerto Rico was always known for rugged style, unique style, more of the hard-hitting style that ECW was when it got exposed. But Puerto Rico always had that style. Now, me personally, I watch the product, and certain people are just emulating what they see on the American wrestling. Do you
Yes.
think that's hurt the product as far as...
Man,
attending
I'm sorry,
and fans and all that stuff.
So I get it. You know, I know. I mean, I know that might call us, people with my age and your age, big out like, oh, you're an old school, right? You're an
Yeah,
old school.
yeah.
Well, I call it, we're professionals, right? We like professional wrestling, and I know there's a demographic for what modern wrestling is, and I've come to accept it. You know, I know there's a demographic out there that wants to see the flip, the bluff, the you'd move that I give you 3 finishes and you kick out on one. I know there's a demographic for that, but I don't like it. You know, I don't like that style of wrestling. I still love the storytelling of a match. I still love the psychology of the match, the realism that you have to put on the match. But yes, in Puerto Rico, you've seen that. And even when I was there a couple of weeks back, I told some of the guys, why would you, I think it was a big move. And in at the first beginning of the match, we call it shine,
Yeah,
where
yep.
the good guy is doing something nice. So at the beginning, the end of the shine was a big move that could be considered a finish. So why would you, where do you go from here, right? And I was talking to the guys, where do you go from here if you're doing this on a shine? So I understand, you know, they want to get their shed in. There's some people that like this match. And if the promoter or the producer of the show knows he's selling tickets to that demographic, I understand why he has it at a certain stage of the card. And I've come to accept it, but that's not mine. That's not my style.
That's not your style. Definitely not
No.
my style neither. I like
Yeah.
the connection with the fans. You know, I tell guys all the time, guys and girls, if you're able to go out in front of an audience and make them believe in you and make them care for you, you can stand in the ring and they're going to give 2 shits for you.
You can do nothing. You can
Yes.
shove the guy and you got them here.
Yes.
And
Now,
you've done nothing.
if you go out there and do every single move that the guys that are over on TV are doing, they're going to pop for your moves because it makes them remember those guys that are over. They're not necessarily popping for you. They're popping for your moves. So which one is it going to
Exactly.
be? You know, and at times wrestling is simple, but guys and girls don't understand it. So it becomes hard and difficult. And definitely times are different now. But going back to you, Evie, once you come into the States, you wrestle different promotions. What are some of your favorite opponents that you've had along the way working here in the States?
Man, I had so many. I think right now, at this stage, I've had a couple of matches with JC Storm. I don't know if you've known her, but she's an up-and-comer down here in the Northeast. But back when I started, and obviously I was out for like 4 years in between when I came. Yeah, so I missed a lot. But back when I started, it was Mercedes KV or Sacha Bannon said that, as we know her now. Yeah, but I had a lot of good quality matches. But I can remember having good matches with her, and currently having really good chemistry with JC Storm. I've beaten her several times, and I know I'm gonna beat her next time I face her. So.
I like the confidence. Definitely dig the
Of course.
confidence. So, even you mentioned that you stepped away for a few years. Can you
Yes.
talk about that little hiatus that you had at that time?
Sure. So, and look at this, not funny story. So, you know, WWE, since you're like, oh, we're interested in you, or if you don't know, whenever you're in the radar, that you're in conversations with them and whatever. So
Yeah.
I think it was 2012 or something, and they like yada yada back and forth, and I did a commercial for them for Tough Enough for the show. But what happens? So at that stage, I was finishing my master's degree, starting my master's degree, and I've always set myself a lot of goals. I've never put all my eggs in one basket. So I love wrestling, but I had my personal profession in mind, and I have my personal goals also. So I had to make a decision, and I decided to put wrestling in the glove compartment. I put it in there, and I was like, even though I love this, I know that if I want to dedicate 100% of my focus on wrestling, I'm not gonna be able to do these things or vice versa, right? I don't like to half-ass anything.
Yeah.
So I said, wrestling can stay here. I've accomplished everything that I've wanted. So I'm going to put it on hold. I'm going to concentrate on these things. I completed everything that I wanted, accomplished everything I wanted in my personal, my professional life. And I said, okay, so I'm going to go back to wrestling, pick it up for one last hooray, as you might want to call it. And I've always been in shape, you know, even though I was 4 or 5 years out, I always stay in shape. I'm still in my prime, so why not go back and teach these girls what wrestling is all about?
That's what it's all about. You've always been in
Yeah.
tremendous shape and ready to go. So now, finally, you decide it's time to come back.
Yep.
Where do you go back to start training? Because you got to get a little bit of the ring rust off. Where do you go to train?
I went back to train with Slick Warner Brown.
Yes.
So Test of Strength School in East Hartford, Connecticut. I work for them also. I trained for a year. I mean, I just needed like the the ring rust, like you're saying. Physically, I was ready. I could go in a 60-minute match, but the moves, the not posting, but basing and stuff, I needed to get that all straightened out again. And once I did that, then I went back to business, and then I bought my ring. So now I still go to training, and then I have it right when I open my back door, so I can train whenever I feel like.
Chris.
No, I give you credit for buying a ring. I bought a couple of rings before I bought the diamond ring, and I got a lot of shit for that. So, but no, I like the dedication, and I like the fact that breaking down the goals personal in the wrestling business. A lot of people don't do that, and
Right.
I think a lot of it can be breaking down to you have a great relationship at home. It sounds like he pushes you, and you probably do the same with him.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So you came back because you think you have a last hurrah. Is that correct? Well, what do you want? You want this to be your last run?
Well, yes. I mean, it's gonna last long because I could do this for 10 more years. But I'm enjoying this. I mean, it's at a stage of my life and my wrestling career that I go only where I want to go. Right. I don't need to be everywhere. I know what I want. I know what I'm capable of. So I'm enjoying this more than when I was, maybe 15 years ago. Like I mentioned, I've done everything I wanted to do. Now in wrestling, there's a couple more things that I want to accomplish. And one of those right now, my focus is on winning the IWA championship in Puerto Rico, which, mark my words, I will do that. I want to do that, defend the 4 championships that I have from the 4 companies that I'm currently the champion of in Northeast, defend it, and keep bringing the women's wrestling up to the light where it should be, because there's a lot of amazing talent out there that just needs the avenue to showcase it.
Showcase. See, that was a
Ooh,
cheap
I like
plug.
that.
That's a cheap plug for you.
How I
the plug.
put it in there?
Yeah, you put it in.
We've had you on numerous cards, and you definitely bring up the talent, not just of the women, but the talent, period. So that being, I think we had to bring in some opponents for it.
Yeah, we do. So now you mentioned, Ivy, your focus is on winning the IWA Puerto Rico women's
Yes.
title and defending the titles that you currently hold. But, everybody in this business is in it for the big one. If you had to choose right now out of the 2 biggest promotions that there is in this business, which is the WWE and AEW, which one would you rather go to if the opportunity comes about?
Based on just talent, I mean, WWE, man. At maybe a year ago, I would have said AEW, but I'm not enjoying to an extent what I'm seeing in AEW. So I'm going to say, the women, the talent that is in WWE, that's where anyone that wants a challenge should be aiming at, So all these young women starting training school or in the independent circuit, they should, obviously, you always should aspire to go to the biggest
Yes.
company, right?
Yeah.
Don't always put your eggs in one basket, because this business, doesn't owe you anything, right? There's 1,000 like you out there. But if you want to, challenge yourself, that should be the ultimate goal for me.
For you, and obviously watching the product, both products, who in the WWE, or if it's plural, if it's multiple girls, would you think that you would have some of the great matches that you could bring to the table?
Psychology-wise, I would say Charlotte, right? I think she has a similar style from her father. So she would be a good one. Maybe chemistry would be out there. And hard hitting, I think Rhea has showcased that she is she is it, right? She's got everything. She's got everything you need to be a great wrestler. So I think those two styles. I mean, we saw them wrestling against each other, and it was magic.
Yes.
So I think if we find women like them around here, oof, book them.
It'll be the battle be done.
Oh my
Good
goodness.
that you mentioned, Rhea. I mean, I think in general, men or women, she's one of the top stars there.
Yes.
She's got
Yes.
the total package,
Right.
the charisma, the physique, and everything else, the skills in the ring. So definitely,
Exactly.
many years to go as far as, the stardom that she's got to
Oh,
achieve.
for sure. For sure. She's a baby. She's like 23, I think, 24, something
Yeah,
like
she's
that.
a youngin' still. Chris Blocker, you got to...
No, I'm just agreeing with you. It doesn't happen very often, but
You say you're agreeing?
Yeah, he's agreeing.
You
but
better agree. You better agree.
I'm concerned because we mentioned Rhea and he got a little bit thirsty, so I don't know. He's a thirsty guy over here.
You're going to get a slap from me when I see you.
Yep, there you go. See, Chris? You
slap
always
me
get the heat.
Slap me twice, punch him once.
No. We go
Not like that.
We go back here.
Yeah,
We go
I
back
know.
here. So,
True.
anyways, Evie, so we mentioned IWA Puerto Rico. You've been doing some things down there. You just came back recently from the IWA Puerto Rico.
Right.
What you saw this time around in your second running going back to Puerto Rico?
The talent. I have to admit it. I said I left because there was no competition. I came back and that's all I got now, competition. So I got it. I got the work cut out for me. I mean, I went there. I won my opportunity for a championship. I had the match. I was cheated out of it, but I let her all disheveled in the ring. So hopefully, the shows is on Saturdays on YouTube channel, IWA Puerto Rico. Maybe they'll show what I did to this woman on Saturdays so that she can remember me until I come back. But there's a lot of competition, young talent, women that have it, that are passionate, that want to wrestle. You know what I mean? They want to wrestle. So I think I'm going to go back. I'm going to definitely go back until I win the championship. But even if I didn't have an opportunity for it, I will go back just for the competition, challenge these other women.
Well, I don't doubt any one bit that you're going to go down there and that soon you're going to have that title. You're going to bring it to the States. You're going to have some matches with that title down here.
Hell yeah.
Moving forward, what can we expect other than IWA? And we got into the big promotions from Evie De La Rosa in the Northeast.
What can you expect? Good wrestling, man. Like I say, I go where I want to. I wrestle who I want to wrestle. I only wrestle people that I know are capable of stepping into the ring with me. So if you want to see good quality women's wrestling, you should, just go to any of the shows where I'm going to be there, because you're going to see good quality professional women's wrestling.
I like it. It's honest. So basically, you see Evie on the card, you know that the women, it almost sounds like you handpicked them with contract-wise, which is perfect, because you want to make sure that if you beat somebody, there's someone worth beating, and that they're up to your level.
Of course. I mean, anyone that step in the ring with me, already their value already increases. You know what I mean? I mean, and you've seen me, guys. I talk like a champion. I fight like a champion. I'm truly what a champion looks like. So if you want to see what a champion looks like, book me and go to one of my shows. Simple.
Definitely, I agree.
like it.
You want to book Evie De La Rosa on your event. What are some of the social media that people could reach you and look up matches and look you up?
Don't reach me because I'm not your friend, but you can follow me in Facebook as Evie De La Rosa, Instagram Evie De La Rosa. I don't have Twitter. I don't believe in Twitter, so don't follow me there. And also you can follow my husband, Dr. Lucha Libre. He talks about wrestling in Puerto Rico, reviews of wrestling in the U.S. at Dr. Lucha Libre in Facebook or Instagram or YouTube too. You might see me pop my head around his shows sometimes too.
Yes, so you're gonna definitely keep an eye out for Evie and Dr. Lucha Libre. Evie, the next time I'm gonna see you will be actually this Saturday night.
This Saturday,
This Saturday
in the
night
church.
in the church.
Lady Yeah, Lady Cross something. Yeah,
Lady
Rosary Church.
Rosary Church in Providence, Rhode Island, Third Street. That's
21 Traverse Street.
There you go, and that's a 6
we are gonna be out there, Vega, with our BWO shirts.
Yes.
Am I right?
Definitely.
Hell yes. Okay.
Boricua
World Order.
It will be in the house. You can catch us there. Also, you're going to be down at Powerhouse coming up in October 28th.
I'm going to be October 28th. Where is it at?
We're in Franklin, Massachusetts at the Elks Lodge in Franklin. And that's
Amazing.
7:30 p.m. bell time there. So I'm going to get into my plugs right away before we wrap it up.
Oh, you're welcome, by the way.
And this Sunday also, Sunday the 30th, I'm going to be down in Bridgeport, Connecticut for Blood, Sweat, Tears. I'm their champion over there. So, again, go and see what a champion looks like.
They could catch
Sunday
you down
the 30th.
there in Connecticut. Yep. And also, tomorrow night, the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, Crown Plaza Hotel, Warwick, Rhode Island. The following day, Fan Fest, same spot, Crown Plaza Hotel, 9 to 5. There's going to be a bunch of superstars there. The Big Red Machine, Kane, will be in the house. Nia Jax will be in the house. Ultimate Dragon, and a host of many others, including myself. Come pick up a shirt. You can find me at Pun Don Vega on Instagram, Don Vega on Facebook. You can follow us at SP Wrestling for anything that's coming up, shows, tickets. You get it all there. Our next event will be July 30th as well at the Puerto Rican Festival in Providence, Rhode Island. That's the summer event, right?
Summer event, 2 p.m. bell time.
There you go. August 11th, the big one, 2-ring.
First time ever.
Ooh, that's good.
In Rhode Island, 2-ring battle royal.
That's going to be a big one.
That is open, by the way. That is open to anybody and everybody. So
126
we can put
Main
the challenge
Street,
out there.
Woonsocket, Rhode
I think
Island.
she could win if she goes in.
Maybe, who knows?
Because remember, whoever wins, you get a title shot of whatever you want.
Okay.
A title shot, you said?
Yes,
Interesting.
you name it.
Very interesting.
Yes.
So we're getting there close to closing up. Ivy, before I let you go, we do a little thing that's called a name game. I'm going to mention some names, and you can either say one word about this person, or you could give us a brief little story about them.
Good, bad, or indifferent.
Deal.
Whatever you like.
Yeah, man, straight shot. I'm going to start with your first trainer, Ricky Banderas.
Tough.
You got one, Chris?
That's
Walker?
it.
Savio Vega.
He's a master.
Dr. Lucha Libre, somebody that you know very well.
Funny as hell.
Funny as hell.
Yeah.
Sasha Banks.
Smart. Very smart.
Sheldon Goldberg.
Oh, that was a good one.
Man, what?
The owner of NECW, Sheldon.
He was friendly. I'm gonna say friendly.
You gonna say friendly?
You made me sweat, man.
I'm making you sweat. You got a last one?
Chicky Star.
Oh, that's a random name.
Who?
Cheeky Star.
Oh, he's an asshole.
Yep.
Oh, well, it's too late.
One
I
word,
said it.
yep. El Profe.
Basura, como, how he said it. Basura.
El Profe.
Oh, he's lovable. Yeah.
And the last one, I got to leave with controversy, and I know you share the locker room. He was probably the booker around the time he was in your first run around IWA, either the booker or a producer backstage, Jose Vuelta Gonzalez, El Invader.
El Invader. Chad, man. Man, he was decent. I never had any issues with him. He was very decent. Decent guy.
Okay. There you go. Evie.
I like it.
Puño corazón.
El puño al corazón, el puño vendado.
Yeah.
Gracias por la invitación, por estar aquí.
Gracias a
en esta
ustedes.
invitación. Gracias por estar con nosotros. Thank you very much.
Seguro.
Blackheart.
Gracias.
Un placer.
Thank you.
Gracias. Wow, he said it in Spanish too.
He
huh?
said in Spanish. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
That's-
My Spanish is not really well, but I try and I respect the language.
It's getting there. Okay. All right.
1 point for A for trying.
Thank you.
Uno para conseguir ya una sola galleta, no dos.
Exacto. Uno
Just
nada
one
más.
slap.
Medio pocillo. translate that. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah, I
in
told
English.
him just he gets one slap now, not two.
Good.
See, you might get.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. It was really fun.
Thank you,
talking to
Evie. This was
Thank
fun. We'll do it again soon. I'll catch you down Saturday here in Providence. But for now, this has been the Showcase Pod for the boss Chris Blackheart and Don Vega and Evie de la Rosa. De la Rosa. There you go. We'll catch you down the road in the Showcase Pod.